Hi, I'm Andy Sherwood, Business Development Manager for Sophos at Arrow ECS, and I'm here today in Sophos' Abingdon office to talk all about ransomware and incident response. I'm joined by Peter McKenzie. Thanks, Peter, for joining us.
No problem.
Would you mind just introducing yourself quickly?
Yeah, my name's Peter McKenzie, Director of Incident Response and Readiness Services at Sophos, a global team of about 50 people. We provide emergency incident response to people under attack, as well as proactive services like tabletops and IR plan development.
Perfect, thank you. So, first question then, so why should you prepare for a ransomware attack?
Well, we do a survey each year. It's an independent survey out to thousands of different companies, asking lots of questions related to cyber attacks. And one of them is, how often or have you had a ransomware attack in the last year? And around 50% of businesses of all sizes report a ransomware attack within the last 12 months. So you can think of it as, if you haven't had one this year, you'll probably have one next year. So you should plan for the inevitable, because they can be very costly events to recover from.
Perfect. So how would you say a typical ransomware attack works from what you've seen?
It's human driven. That's the important thing. It is not a bit of malware, it's not a virus, it's not a worm that's sort of spreading across your network automatically. It is human controlled. An attacker has gotten into your network, and it may be a few of them working with others, but they have got into your network and they're looking around. They're working out what accounts they need to compromise. They're looking at where your critical systems are, where your backups are, where your financial data is. They want to understand your network. And then when they're ready, they will steal a bunch of your data, and then they will deploy their ransomware to the machines of their choosing on your network. And they will normally do that in the middle of the night, on a weekend, when it's going to hurt you the most.
Okay, so I guess that leads nicely on to what are the common mistakes that you see from ransomware victims then?
There are a lot of different mistakes we see. It can be the classics of having remote desktop protocol, or RDP, exposed to the internet. Attackers still use that as a common method of gaining access to your network. Obviously, people falling for phishing emails. These are the common ways attackers get in. But ultimately, attackers will get in at some point, and you should be prepared for that. So the real question and the real mistake we see is that victims weren't aware someone was on their network until that attacker actually told them. They left the ransom note on their machines, they encrypted their files. And if they hadn't done that, most victims wouldn't have even noticed that someone was in their network. So it's the mistake of not understanding the products you've got, how those tools work, not responding and understanding the alerts that they're giving you. So just not being aware and watching what's happening on your network. And it's completely understandable, because most people don't have the budget, the resources and the experience to do that.
Yeah. So given that it's a fairly high probability that something like this is going to happen, how do you go about making an incident response plan? So where should people start, and what aspects should they consider?
Well, it's very hard to make an incident response plan if you've never had to deal with an incident. Imagine trying to make a plan for putting out a fire if you've never seen what a fire looks like. So I would say, first of all, talk to your partners, talk to colleagues in other businesses that have maybe done this kind of thing before. Ask them for advice. You can go online and find numerous bits of information about building incident response plans. We have lots of advice in that area. You can work with Sophos directly, and we can help build an IR plan for you. But I would say the simplest and easiest way to just start is just get around a table or on a Zoom, with your colleagues, and start asking questions like, if all of our servers got encrypted today and we couldn't use them, what's our first action? Do we know if there's people we need to bring in? Do we need to bring an incident response team in? Do we need to contact cyber insurance if we've got it? Do we need to bring in our lawyers? There's a lot of basic questions that if you just start asking, you will naturally start realizing some of the key things you need to think about in this IR plan. Okay,
so it's great to have an incident response plan then. Obviously, it's much better to not get attacked in the first place. Can you tell us a bit more about what typically allows attacks to succeed?
We see from most of the ransomware attacks and other attacks that we investigate that most could have been prevented. Some are very sophisticated, using incredibly advanced tools and maybe zero-day vulnerabilities and things like that. But for the majority of the incidents we investigate, they could have been stopped if people had been understanding alerts that were popping up on their consoles. With ransomware, it's not something that typically happens within a few minutes. The attacker can be on your network for days or weeks. And in that period, detections for what they're doing will be getting reported to your security systems. It's very rare an attacker won't make a single mistake and won't get detected by something. So the mistakes we see are those alerts coming up to a console and either no one's looking at the console or they don't have the experience to deal with it. So you need to be acknowledging that that is a weakness you have and think about how you want to deal with it.
Okay, that's very interesting. So another question then, so does it make a difference if you're a large or a small organisation?
Not in the sense of whether or not you're a target. Everyone's a target. Everyone can typically find some money to pay a ransom if they really need to. Bigger businesses, that have deeper pockets, yes, attackers will want to attack them to get that bigger payday. But the way it generally works, the larger you are, the more likely you'll have better tools, better teams, the more resources to prevent an attack from happening. So what we find is smaller businesses that aren't aware of how cyber attacks work and aren't aware of what their tools can do and what they can't do, they're more common targets. Because it's not targeted. It's not like an attacker wakes up in the morning saying, I want to hit that bakery on Main Street in whatever town. They're not going after you like that. They're scanning the internet, they're finding ways to get in, and then once they're in, they'll go, oh, it's a bakery, right, let's launch ransomware.
Yeah, okay. And I guess budgets also comes into this as well, which is something that we've seen from a distribution perspective. So we've got Arrow Payment Solutions where we can break those costs down over different payment intervals, whether it's quarterly, monthly, or even annually. We're seeing a big switch now into, rather than people wanting to pay everything up front, they're looking to actually break that down and pay for it in installments. So that's something that we've seen, and that's helping a lot of small businesses improve their protection without having to outlay far too much capital than they could afford.
I don't think you'll speak to an IT manager anywhere that will say, "Oh, I've got too much budget." So
that'd be nice.
Anything that firms like Arrow can do to help, manage those costs will certainly be, a positive thing.
Yeah, definitely. So, how can a partner engage with Sophos on potential opportunities with their customers?
Well, obviously, if you're experiencing an incident, if your customer has contacted, say, I've got a ransom note on my desktop, what do I do? First thing would be contacting our rapid response team. So you can find the phone numbers on the sophos.com webpage. Just get speaking to us. We can typically engage with a matter of hours and have people working with them to, investigate, neutralize, contain the threat as quickly as possible. If you are a partner and you're wanting to understand how our services work more, again, there's lots of information on the website. We do webinars and threat casts, so you can find information about the latest threats and things out there. But also, please just contact us, reach out through Arrow and your partners at Sophos and ask questions about what we do and how we can work with you better. We work with several partners on a regular basis. Some we will even outsource work to for recovery work and things like that. So yeah, there's plenty of options.
And we've, again, from our perspective, Arrow, we've got our own pre-sales team as well, so we can help partners with, scoping out firewall opportunities, or if they need some technical enablement, we can help them fill that gap as well, and hopefully it can educate partners to go out and have those conversations with their customers, and we can help them build up opportunities and scope those out. So, okay, good. Is there any particular verticals that Sophos operate particularly heavily in?
Well, Sophos is a global firm, and we range from one-person businesses, even down to home users, up to large organisations and governments of tens of thousands. But especially in the sort of UK, Ireland, EMEA kind of area, we do a lot in education, healthcare, government. So we're pretty big in those areas.
So pretty wide then. And again, from our side, we've got a marketing team, so we do a lot of work with partners with campaigns, whether that's telemarketing, events, webinars, that kind of thing, and we can also support with product enablement, so enabling those sales teams to go out and find those opportunities, have conversation with their customers and provide the best kind of support to give them the best kind of solution really as well. So I think that's a really important kind of piece of the puzzle. So, okay, so in your experience, what are your best tips for staying safe out there in the big scary world?
Well, other than just turning all your computers off, but yeah, I'd say make sure you understand what is actually on your computers, what is on your network, how are people accessing your network. You know, do you have the basics in place like multi-factor authentication? If you don't have multi-factor authentication, there is no silver bullet in this industry for protecting you, but multi-factor authentication is probably I'm not saying it's easy, but it's the easiest thing that will have the biggest impact you can do to increase your security. But then once you've got things like that in place and good network segmentation, you know, don't put your servers on the same LAN as your endpoints, you know, don't allow anyone to access your finance server or your sales server. Don't store important documents on domain controllers, we see that a lot. But ultimately it comes down to what tools are you actually putting on your machines, what protection do they provide, and what monitoring capabilities do they have. And if they do have good monitoring capabilities, who's actually doing the monitoring? Because you could be collecting vast amounts of data, putting it in a SIM somewhere. If no one's doing anything with it, then there's no point in having it. So think about, do you have the budget for your own security team? If you do, great. 24/7, brilliant. Probably need 9 to 12 people to manage that at least. But if you don't, are you working with a managed service provider or an MDR provider to help cover those scenarios of who is watching what's going on your network 24/7 and has the ability to respond to threats live? And if you don't have any of that and you don't want to do it, then have you got maybe an incident response retainer in place? Have you got cyber insurance? Have you planned for the inevitable? Because it will happen eventually, I'm afraid.
Yeah. So that leads quite nicely into the final question then. So where do you see the benefits of the channel in helping customers stay safe from ransomware attacks?
The channel, you are the trusted advisors. You know, cybersecurity is an incredibly fast-paced industry. Keeping up with threats, keeping up with technology. Most companies out there, even cybersecurity companies, will struggle sometimes to keep up with what's going on. So your customers, they won't be able to keep up, most of them. So they will come to you as their trusted advisor on what are the ways to secure their network. So make sure you're educating yourself on what services Sophos provides, what tools are out there, and how best to make that information visible to your customers, because they are looking to you to protect them.
Yeah. And I think that's also where Arrow can help as well, because we're almost an extension of the partners. So we can help with sales enablement, we can help with training, you know, just making sure that all those quotes and orders are going through smoothly, and just generally enabling the channel to be more aware of, you know, what's out there, not just from a product perspective, but also the threats and how to spot opportunities as well. Mm-hmm. So I think, you know, as collectively, you know, we've got everything covered, I would hope. So yeah, good. All right, well, thank you for your time, Peter. Really appreciate it. It's been very interesting. If you want to ask any questions about anything you've seen today, feel free to comment on the video or get in touch with us via email. I'll be more than happy to have a chat with you. So thank you for your time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.